Hello and welcome to another project in the LangGraph. So we are building a approval workflow. So now in the previous project, we have built a customer support workflow. So we built a very sophisticated workflow, right? So in that, what we did is like, so we basically added a component like auto approve or human intervention, right? So in that, the user would send some messages and it will be either auto approved or it will be basically human interval is required. Now in that, the action is not happening, it is basically a suggestion, right? So somebody would basically enter some message, the AI would say like, okay, you need human intervention, and somebody would be able to pick it up from there, right? So that is basically just giving you the response saying that what should be done with this ticket, correct? What should be done? Should it be auto approved or should it be something which should take human approval? It just gives you the suggestions, right? So we're building a little bit better in this, so we're going one step ahead. So wherever it is auto approved, it will get auto approved. Wherever if there is a human intervention is required, we would basically create a code where we will ask the human. It will basically come to the human saying that, hey, this is for approval or not, and the human approves, then it gets approved. If the human rejects, that ticket gets rejected, right? So we're just adding that element where the human is actually taking the decision. So earlier in the previous project, we basically said like, hey, human approval is required, that's all, but we didn't go say ask for human approval. We did not ask for any approval, right? So it basically suggested that a human intervention is required. Now here we are going one step and saying that wherever human intervention is required, human will either approve or disapprove. Based on that, the action will be taken. All right. Okay, so that is what we are building, and we're going to build it straight away. So now this is a project structure. So under module 6, I am under approval workflow. This is where I am. Under this project, we have the app folder config.py and llm.service. No changes required from the previous projects. So we have prompts where we build the prompts, and then we have the graph workflow where we'll basically create the graphs, okay, and then main.py where we will basically wire it all together, okay. So config.py LLM service, we already have the code. Prompts, I have the code here. So basically, so we are building a risk analysis prompt. So this prompt basically, this prompt is used by the agent to analyze the business request. So this is the prompt. You are an enterprise risk analyst assistant. Analyze the following business requests. So this is the request that the customer is giving. Classify the risk into these categories: risk level, reason, recommended action, and these are the rules. Low risk means safe to auto approve. Medium risk means human reviews preferred. High risk means human review is required. So preferred and required. So this is where the AI or the agent can take its own decision. Do not include extra explanation. Cool. Very simple. Now graph, right? So we need to build the agents. We need to build the graph for different nodes, correct? So let's start doing that. So let's do the imports first. Import type it langgraph.graph, state graph, start end, LLM service. We need the LLM service. From prompts, we need this prompt. So the first step that we do is we create the state, right? So let's say approval state. Okay, this is fine. Now the request test, which is the original request that is coming from the user, then risk level, right? Then recommended action. So these are the states. We're just creating the structure of the states. Okay, so we'll define this later. So human decision is another thing. Okay, and final result. Okay, so final result. So these are the states that we want to do. Okay, then we'll define a function for parsing the output. So right, so first thing is like the human would enter something, right? And once they enter, right, so the agent would respond to it something, right? And the agent would respond, and basically we would want to we won't want to parse it. Okay, so let's say business, somebody has put some messages, the agent went ahead and it basically created some text. Okay, now we need to pass this test here to parse it. So something very similar, we did it earlier also. So we'll say parse risk, let's call it as output. Okay, so this would be, instead of risk output, let me call it as AI text. Okay, so now first let's do a default value. So like if we didn't get anything proper, then we need to have a default values ready. Okay, so risk reason, so let's change this, no additional information provided, instead could not confidently determine risk. Okay, so this is good. All right. And then recommended action would be human review. So if you're not able to identify, then human review. Okay, so this text, let's pull it into the lines, right? And then we need to go and extract each of the line, right? So if line node lower starts with the risk level, right, then we would parse it under the risk level. Okay, so yeah, we have done this in the previous project also. So let's just go ahead. So else if it starts with the reason, then we need to parse it under the risk reason. Okay, what else we have? Else if it starts with the recommended action, yes, we need to parse it under the recommended action. Okay, so cool. And then what we did is we basically returned this. Okay, so far so good. Okay, let's save this. Okay, then what we need to do is we need to build a risk analysis, right? So before we get the output, right, before we get the output, so what we have is like, again, these definitions you can put up and down, right? So you, if logically speaking, the first function you should create is like as soon as the user inputs, you basically create that. As soon as the user inputs, you would basically build a prompt to analyze this user, and then give the text, right, AI test, and that AI test will actually go and sit it here. Okay, and it get passed here. So but I'm creating that function first and creating this function. Again, it is about how people, it's all about the preference, right? So I would like to have this first, so that's why, because it's not Python, it's not, you're calling it from nodes, right? So it does not matter where you put it. Okay, so yeah, so let's create this function where we are doing this analysis. Okay, I need to build a prompt. So we have the prompt already, prompt rebuild risk analysis prompt, which we have, and we pass the state, which is the request test, which is from the user. Okay, then let's also pass the system prompt. So you are, let's just remove this. So you are an enterprise risk analysis assistant. Okay, so I'll keep it simple. And now you need to call the LLM. So call LLM. Okay, let's just take this call output. Instead of this, I would say AI output. Okay, okay. All right. Okay, so now we need to basically parse this output, right? So this parse, so we defined this parse function here. So we need to basically parse it. So, and I'll return this into a parsed one. Okay, so I'm keeping the same format as I used in the previous project. So to keep the consistency, then we'll return the details, like we'll return the risk level, then recommendation actions, right? So, okay, this also risk reason. So let's return the risk reason and recommended action. Okay, we'll return all of this. So good. All right, now we need to create, let's create a node for auto approve, right? So we need we need a node for auto approve, we need a node for the human review, right? So let's say let's start with the auto approve. Okay, auto approve node. Okay, so final result would be, okay, let's say approval workflow result. Request is state of request, good, right? Then what we need, risk level would be state of risk level, fantastic. Risk reason, state of risk reason, yes. And then recommended action, then this would be state of recommended action. Okay, and final decision, right? So final decision should be, what should be the final decision? Auto approve, because this is a node for auto approval. Okay, and let's put an explanation. This request was classified as low risk, so the workflow approved it automatically. Okay, so let's close this loop here and let's return the final response or final result. Okay, cool. So this is done. So auto approve is done, then human review is pending. So let's do the human review as well, right? So same thing, we can just copy paste the from the above, right? So yeah, final response. Okay, let's just instead of this, let's just do one by one. So let's call it as final result. Okay, uh, human approval. Okay, human approval required, request, state of request test. Okay, the next is the risk level, state of risk level. Then we have risk reason, state of risk reason, fantastic. Recommended action, state of recommended action, right? Fantastic. Then status, waiting for human approval. Okay, please choose approve or reject. So this is one additional thing we are doing, right? So we are basically asking the human to choose. So as soon as it comes to the human, so human would basically has to choose whether he has to approve it or not. So we are giving an option in the UI itself for the human. So the human, once it approves, then it will go as approval. If the human disapproves, it will go as disapproval. So that is one additional check that we are doing compared to the previous process. All right. Okay, so now this is good. Okay, not yet. So so we built two graphs. Sorry, we built two nodes just now. So one is on the auto approve, one is on the this one, right? The human. So we need to actually, before we go there, right? Uh, we need to read there's one more thing that we need to do. So final decision, right? So we need to read that final decision. Okay, so let's read this final decision. So we'll create one more final decision node, final decision node. Okay, I like this. So decision is equal to state of human decision. Yes, I'll take it from there. Okay, and yeah, final result, we'll create the final result. Create after the human decision is done, then we just create the final decision, final what do you call, final result, right? Final approval decision, the request, state of request is risk level, state of risk level, then risk reason, state of risk reason, then human decision, that is decision, right? Okay, so that is a decision that we have taken. Okay, so cool, so far so good. So next, so this decision is actually like this is the one, right, where we come taking it from there. Okay, what else we need? Decision is done, final results, yes. The request has been decision. Okay, let's say decision, let's convert this to lower. So approved or rejected, right, by the human reviewer. Okay, we're just taking the decision from the human reviewer and then we're just displaying it. And yes, let's return the state final result. Okay, all right, so this is good. That also we have done. Then let's do a conditional routing, right? So let's say route after risk analysis. Okay, state. So we'll take the state of risk. So we'll say state of risk level. Let's convert that into a lowercase and yeah, let's assign it as risk. Okay, so we're grabbing the risk and we're checking if the risk is low, then auto approve. Okay, otherwise what we say, human review. Okay, so simple node. Okay, now we need to build the graph. Okay, so now we need to build two graphs. Okay, so one graph is for the initial approval graph. So we create a graph for the first phase. Basically, we do the risk analysis. Then we decide whether it's a human approve or human review. So that decision. Now, once that is done, right, the second graph or the final decision graph will be like if the human decision is done, based on that human decision, we will take the second graph. Okay, so those are the two graphs that we will build. Okay, so let's say build initial approval graph. Okay, so we create the graphs. So there are two phases. So state graph, yeah, workflows. Now we need to keep adding your node. So first is risk analysis node, fantastic. Then we add auto approve, then we add the human review. So this is good. So we added this. Now, yeah, now we need to start the this phase, right? So workflow, yeah, start risk analysis, this is good. Now we need to add the conditional node. Okay, so workflow dot add conditional edges. Okay, so the first is risk analysis, right? Now we have to route after risk analysis. Once the risk is analyzed, whether it has to be auto approve or human approve, right? So that is what this is all about. So yeah, so once you do the risk analysis, you do the auto approve or this one. So risk analysis, these are the two branches. Okay, auto approve or human review. Okay, right. Then what we do, then we would basically need to end it. So either it could be human or it could be the auto, right? So we need to end this actually. Okay, so we'll end this and let's remove the space. Let's compile this. Okay, workflow. Let's compile this work. So this is good. So this is phase one. Now final decision has to be taken based on the user whether this user approves or disapproves, right? So that final decision, so we need to build one more graph. So we'll say build final decision, okay, final decision graph. So yeah, so we'll take the workflow. Let's add the node. So final decision node is there. Now we'll start directly with the final decision. Okay, so we'll start with the final decision node and we'll end the workflow with the final decision. Okay, right? So again, return compile. Cool. So it's just doing this. We can combine both of this. So again, as I mentioned, it's about how we want to use this. So anything is fine. You can just try to put this there also. It's up to you how you want to handle this. But yeah, this is one of the way, right? So again, so we have this one, and now finally we need to go to the main, and main we will wire it all together. Okay, so import this Gradio, then we need to import from app.graph workflow, right? Import what all we have. So why is it not showing? So from app.graph workflow, import, yeah, build initial graph, build decision final graph. These are the two things that we needed to import. Okay, this is the problem. So I'm showing like why is it throwing an error? Okay. So, okay, so we have two graphs, right? So one is initial graph, one is the final graph, right? So initial graph is, what is the initial graph? Build initial approval graph, okay? And the final graph is build final decision graph. Cool. Uh, so next step is like we need to do the approval workflow, okay? So let's create a function. Yeah. Sometimes this can be a little bit, irritating because it's always on your face like, hey, you can do this, you can do this, right? Okay, start approval workflow. Okay, as usual, request, check the request. If the request is empty, return something, right? And what else? You need to have the initial state, right? So yeah, request state is request, all other things are basically empty, right? So request risk reason, risk reason, then we will have recommended action, then human decision, yeah, then final result. Yeah, okay, so we have this, and now we need to invoke the first graph, right? So initial graph dot invoke with initial state. So let's call this as updated state. Okay, so we invoke the initial graph, graph. Oh, okay, so this is fine. Now we need to return the output, and then we need to store that in the store return, and we need to store the state in the Gradio state, right? So see this one, you run the initial graph, so it gives you some output, right? So you need to store that output, right? You need to return that output and store that output in the Gradio state. So for that, I'm going to say return updated state of final, then updated state. Okay, this is good. Now we need to create another function. So when if it is a human review, right? So we are basically asking the human, we are providing a case for the human to either approve or disapprove in the UI. So we need to take that if there is a human workflow, I mean if the human what do you call, if there is a human intervention is required, we are asking the human to select if the decision accepted or rejected within the UI. So we need to actually have a that function also discussed here. Okay, so let's say submit human decision. Okay, so what is the thing? So we have let's just change these things. Instead of state and decision, select I'm gonna give it as human decision and current state. Okay, okay, so human decision and current state. Okay, so if current state is none, please run the, so we'll say please run the approval workflow first. Okay, because if you did not run the workflow and you're trying to select the decision, then it should not allow you to do the decision. Okay, so that's where you're putting the if condition. So if the request is auto approved, again no human decision. So see, you are providing the UI, right? And then if if it is auto approved and if human is again pressing on the auto or the approve, then you have to give a decision, say you have to give a message saying like it is auto approved, so we don't need to have a human decision again, right? Okay, so for that, if current state of, so current state, this is not the human decision but risk level. So current state of risk level is equal to high, sorry, low. We should check low. Then what I want to return is, I want to return this I want to return something. Let's do it in multiple lines. This request was already auto approved, human decision is not required. Okay, cool. Let me also pass the current state here. Okay, all right. Now we need to update the current state, right? So we always updating the current state, correct? So current state of human decision. So we just updated. Now we need to run the final decision, right? Final graph. So final graph invoke current state. So let me call it as final final state. Okay, let me call it as final state, and now I'm going to return the final state. Okay, cool. So we have completed all the code related to the graph. Now comes the UI state. Okay, so we need to create the UI. Okay, so let's quickly do that. We know what to do, right? So first thing is the markdown for the page, right? So now why this? So approval workflow, let's put as LangGraph. Okay, markdown. Oh, I don't need all this right now. Let's gr dot markdown. Okay, AI analyzes request risk, low risk requests are auto approved. Okay, low risk requests are auto approved. Medium requests require human approval. Okay, so human approval. So this is good. Let's put it this way. Okay, and let's close this. Okay, so project title description is done. Now comes the input, right? So let's call it as request input. Okay, text box, label, enter business request, placeholder, purchase a new laptop for the marketing team. Okay, you can have this as it is. Let's just have this. Then start button. So we need to have a start button. Output. Okay. Workflow output. Yeah. Workflow output. Okay. Then yeah, and here's one more thing that we need to do. So we are basically saying that when it comes for a human decision, right, you need to provide an option for the human to select, right, whether you want to approve or disapprove. So that is actually happening via UI. So we need to create a Gradio where you are actually giving options for the human to select. So let's do that. So gr radio. So I'm creating a radio button, to radio button. So choices would be approve or reject. Okay. And yeah, label would be human decision. Yes, value. The default value is like approve. Okay. Okay. Let me call this as human decision. Yeah, human. Just call it as human decision instead of human decision radio. So human decision. Okay. So we have the human decision now, right? We would create a button to actually capture this. So human decision button would be gr button submit human decision. Okay. And what else we need? We need to have the states, right? So first the state is gr dot state. It's none right now. So this is a state in the Gradio. So workflow state, right? Okay. Now, so this state we have to store it the UI as well, because this is where we are actually asking the a decision to be captured, right? So you need to save that state as well. So that is why we are doing this gr.state. Okay. Okay. Start button. When somebody clicks, right? This is a function you need to have run inputs, request input, outputs, output and workflow state. Yeah, workflow state is required. Cool. And yeah, let's close it. Okay, what about the decision, right? So user will also have the human. If it is if it has to be approved by the human, you need a button for the human to kind of approve it, right? So we created the button. So what happens if that button is clicked? So submit human decision. This function should run. These are human inputs, human decision, workflow state. Outputs would be output and workflow state. Okay. So perfectly put by cursor, and that's it. We are almost done. We are done. Okay. So we are able to complete this. Okay. Cool. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this UV run. Yeah, I am under 6.3 only. UV run python main.py. Okay. So let's see. Okay. Hmm. Let me just grab this a little bit. Let's just give few more seconds. It should come up at any minute. So this would be the final project. I know like this module has only two projects, but this is like very lengthy, and both of the projects are very exciting. So we'll keep these two projects very exciting. Okay. Okay. Let's first start doing this. Okay. So yeah. So this is how it looks. So this is where the user would start putting in message start workflow. So this is the one I was talking, like human decision. So by default it is under approve, so you can collect approve or reject and submit. So this is your initial graph, this is your final graph. Okay. Okay, so let's do the first one. And again, here we did not write policies, so you can actually have the policies as well by combining the data from the first thing, first project, right? So we didn't write the policies. Again, it's up to you how you want to design it, right? It's all about how you design the your system. Okay, so approve sending a reminder email. Okay, sending a reminder email to the customer. What's happening? Customer. So about their upcoming subscription renewal. So basically, we're just sending up a reminder to the customer about their upcoming subscription email. So let's see what this graphs gives the output. Okay, it seems like there is some error. So yeah, we'll have to fix that. So it says keyword risk reason during the task with auto approve. Okay, says there's something issue with the risk reason. Okay, let's go up and call function. Okay, this is all good. Yeah, these are our internal errors. So it seems like something with the risk reason. So let's go to here. Uh, okay, I think I have not mentioned risk reason here. So probably that would be the error. So let's add this. Okay, I need to rerun this again then. Let's go back and refresh to see and this is okay, this is gone. Okay, let's try this again. Run uv run python main.py. Hopefully this issue is resolved now. Hopefully it should be resolved. Otherwise, I'll have to pause it to see like uh, what is the issue with this. Um, yeah, so I have this link here. So yeah, so let me refresh this. Yeah, let's try the same thing. Approve sending a reminder email to the customer about their upcoming subscription renewal. Okay, so let's do the start the workflow. Let's go back and check. Okay, now I think it is working. So the open AI GPT 4.0 mini is invoked. Okay, so here's this request sending reminder to the email. Risk level is low, so auto approved. So let's try this. Okay, so see, this request was already auto approved. Human decision is not required. See, because it is already approved, you don't need a human equal. That is what it is says. Okay, so let's do one more. Approve a 500. Okay, approve a this a is a dollar. Okay, 50,000. 50,000 refund for a customer who claims they are charged twice, and this is too big number. Okay, so let's start this workflow. So request a refund for customer who claims that charged medium. So status is waiting for human approval. Okay, so now you have a choice whether to approve or reject. So let's say if you approve this, so what will happen is, so let's submit this approve. Okay, so yeah, we have submitted it. So so we when we submit this, right, human decision is already approved. Final decision has been approved by the review. So see, so there's a spelling mistake. You need to check that. Okay, anyway, so the thing is like it is basically asking the human approval, and you are actually selecting it. Okay, so let's do one more. Delete all customer date records. Sorry, delete all customer records related to what is to account ID 99 something from the production database. Okay, so you'll click on this workflow approved, and so risk is very high. So it says human review, right? So earlier we approved it, so now let's go ahead and reject it. So submit this human review. So see, uh, deleting customer is good lead. Okay, sorry. Finally, the request has been rejected by the human reviewer. Good. So that's it, right? So yeah, so this project is basically like you have a system where the AI agent is able to make its own decision. There are some cases where the AI agent cannot make a home decision, so it has to have a human in the loop. And this is where the human in the loop comes into the picture, and we are basically creating a decision whether approve or reject. So you can implement this in your project. So just a small modification, like instead of the UI, right? So a customer, say like you can have multiple distributed system where somebody is asking something and the AI thinks it's a human reviewer required, so it can send out an email and you can have this decisions, this in the email saying that approve or reject, and then human can actually approve or reject from there, right? So exciting project. So this brings an end to our module 6, which is LangGraph. Two exciting projects. I hope you are happy and you are learning and excited as well. So, and I'm very excited. You can hear in my voice, although it's I've been doing a lot of video shooting. I have, sorry, a lot of shooting recordings for, so you might feel a little bit less enthusiastic or voice, but yeah, I'm very excited. So we'll start a new model from tomorrow, or at least my tomorrow. So happy learning, guys. I'll see you guys in my next class.